So hi everyone, today in this video I'm going to talk about another mental model that obviously can be helpful for you in order to take best decisions, since obviously by taking best decisions you tend to have better prosperity, and then so prosperity is whatever human being, a normal one, tends to want to get in their life, whatever is the field that you want to got so that prosperity. So I'm gonna try to help you by trying to take some insights developing in order so to you can use it in your life. And then so I would expect you to help me by subscribing and afterwards seeing other videos so to make you a better person. And then so today what are you going to talk? We'll talk about the pendulum theory of history. So it's a model that is again taken from history. Then so we have started doing a series more focused than so what are the representations about the reality that we take by studying history. So why society swings between extremes. So what you have to understand that sometimes if we look for history, we tend to get a pattern that exists in history. It moves like a pendulum, and why we say that it moves like a pendulum. So history doesn't progress in a straight line. So we tend to perceive that the history progress for more like conservative type of point of views, and then so over the time we develop, the society develops, started so developing and adopting like the acceptance of the so new ideas happen, and then so we start putting and so reformulates the way that our society is. And then so we think that we always have like progressed, so we have progressed from authoritarianism to more type of liberal perspectives to see and to behave in our life. But what we see in reality is like pendulum cycles. What was kind of famous in the past and disappears doesn't mean that not going to appear again. Sometimes it disappears to appear in some period of time and later. So what you see is that the history tends to shift. So the extremes rule during a time, the other extreme tends so to kind of appear afterwards, and then so another cycle, the other extreme that have disappeared appears again, gains force again, and then so other one tends to appear as well. So what we see is that it tends to explain the trends, the ideologies, and the societal values they keep reversing even after major transformations. So sometimes a whole type of transformation that was fought back in the past, they kind of doesn't have that same value. Now, obviously, not calling some of them they remain kind of almost be universal, but a lot of the ideologies they tend so to get folk to bring back and then so be someone that society accepts as true, to just like in some period of time disappear again and not so get the same value that had in the past. And that's so how the model works. So we're going to develop a bit more in specific cases. So society tends to swing between two opposing states, like freedom versus control. So we have society that tends to be more to liberalize things, while in other cycles we tend to see more authoritarianism, collectivism versus individualism. So we have certain societies that in certain periods that we focus more on a strong community in the collective force, and other ones we have more tendency to a self-reliance, so self-individualization of the perspectives that I want so to approach my life instead of just focusing in doing it in more groups. We have economic boom versus recession, that's the one that's most favorable to see, and the tradition versus innovation. So sometimes we return to old values, other times we have a tendency to more embrace radical changes. So these cycles they tend so to last decades or centuries, but they are predictable once you spot the patterns. So you can have take a time to change to extreme to the other one, but we see that there exists a pattern, and whatever is the state that you are right now, you have a tendency to, and you can expect this to happen in the future. You're gonna shift so to other type of other types so of perspective to see the society. What's one that we're seeing today? We have seen, like in the past, probably we are more seeing the nationalism kind of thriving. In the early 2000s, the 10s as well, we have more shift for globalization, two extremes, more relying in national culture, other one is globalism, so more people having like the same type of culture, ideologies, having interactions, so having more, having some mixing more the peoples that are come from their nations, but probably now we're seeing another shift, and then so we're in certain specific type of region of the globe, we're seeing now a tendency as well for the nationalism, so we're kind of in cycles. We have, obviously doesn't mean that everyone's going to adopt a specific ideology when so we're seeing a trend, but the reality is that we have higher probability so to see more people adopting a specific type of perspective because the world is as well tending and so going for that specific type of ideology being adopted for the majority of the people that have power in the world. And so other type of historical examples in politics and governance is the best way. So we have what, democracy, then we go for authoritarianism, then so we go back for democracy. So nations, they tend to shift between open societies and centralized control. So centralization followed by decentralization. Too much decentralization doesn't exist, like a power, the one that has the ability to be better than the other ones tends so now to accumulate to gain power, and tends so now to the governments tends to be more centralized. Centralizations create inequalities, people tend to not like it, and then so back revolutions, some wars, and then go back decentralization, and then so decentralization as well, and the cycle go on. Left wing, now go for right wing again, now come back for left wing, so countries go from progressive revolutions to conservative counter-revolutions. So people kind of don't like a specific type of terrorism, they have to get progress. And then so they fight. But then so by fighting, sometimes they perceive that they've not so got to a new type, a better future, that they have fought, and they are so called the progressive type of movements, and then so they what they understood probably they called back so the time that have so a bit more control, rule, order, and then so the cycle goes on as well. So we have the 60s of liberalism, then so the 80s of in the United States in Reagan and Thatcher's conservatism as well, then so we come back as well for liberalism, and then so hold this cycle going. Economy and markets, boom and boost cycles. So economic markets, they tend to expand, overheat, then crash before restarting. So regulated versus regulated markets. Government shift from tight control to free market policies. So we have the 29 crash. Now go happens the New Deal. Then sought again the 80s regulation. The 80s regulation tend now to as well go for the Haiti crisis. After the Haiti crisis, again now a new type of regulation to decrease not happen, but just too much regulation leads so to deregulation, which so probably gonna lead as well to another crisis. Cultural and social changes. So we have what? We have the moral conservatism to then so leads to liberal revolution. Then a backlash, we end so back for conservatism. And then so another example, we have the 50s where conservatives, the 60s they tend to more so with go for liberal values. Now the 80s again they swing back to conservatism, and the thing goes on. Minimalism versus excess, the 20s were lavish, the 30s they tend to be more frugal, the 20 the when so we go back for the new cycle, we tend now to see more consumist, and then so the 20s we are seeing now since the pandemic, so we see more minimalism starting to go back. And this obviously has to get in count a lot of the context, the economical context. So when interest rates are higher, people don't go invest in those, so people tend to be more conservative. When so we're seeing economical conditions to people more invest, like with lower interest rates, and then so people start investing more. People investing more, money circulating as well, and then so we tend to see inflation, since when exists too much money, it doesn't so happen the power of scarcity is the opposite, when something becomes less scarce, becomes less valuable, and then so inflation tend to happen when exists too much money. That's one of the reasons for why since the pandemic we see more inflation, since in the moment the governments kind of to stimulate again the economy printed too much money, which so now we're facing with the consequence with. And then so another example, we go for technology and innovation, decentralization versus centralization, power shifts from big institutions to individual control. So medieval feudalism, now we go for centralized empires. Again, decentralized internet, and now we're seeing as well a big touch dominance again. Privacy versus surveillance, society swings between valuing open information and strict data control. And so we can go on, we can go look for all the examples. Why this happens? Human psychology, short-term memory. Each generation forgets the mistakes of the past, leading to cycles of repetition. If something else doesn't working well because I've not studied what had happened in the past to improve my theory, what's going to happen? Exists other alternative, people will fight to get it, but these same people that will fight to get it have not understood that this same type of initiative that I've got was as well a regime that was adopted in the past, and they was well will not look for what was made as heroes in the back. Overcorrection, when one system fails, society tends to swing too far in the opposite direction, sometimes taking the progresses that were made in the other state. Desire for balance, once extreme dominates, people start craving the values of the previous area. And we have as well the subtle forces, wealth cycles. Economic inequality grows until a crisis forces redistribution, then the cycle restarts. Political shifts, revolution leads to new regimes, which eventually become the new quo. Now that we have understood, I've got all these examples. Final this video, how to fight it or how to use it. Predict future trends. Now that you understand that the two streams tend to so go in, go in, go off, go in, go off, you understand that when you're in one specific region, when you're so in a more decentralized type of period, you kind of prepare to understand that so the centralization will happen in the future. You don't know why, but will happen, and then so you already can start preparing. So if things have swung too far in one direction, expect a counter reaction soon. Avoid emotional overreaction. Just because the extreme dominates today doesn't mean it will last forever. And then so invest and plan wisely, understand that the extreme will happen, and then prepare it. It's something that you have to take care. Nothing lasts forever, and learn what was the heroes and the things that had happened in the past, because the future is not going to be equal to the past, but has a lot of common, as like their parents, they have a familiarity between them. So I expect these videos make you a bit more smarter, and I possibility you can still take some specific insight from this. So